Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada. Om Saparyagat Chukramakayam Avranam Asnaviram Shuddhamapapa Vidham Kavirmanishi Paribhu Swayambhur Yatha Tathyatorthan Vyadadachashvatibhyah Samabhyah. So this is the 8th mantra. Now if you see, there is a lot in the first idula akayam, avranam, asnaviram, apapa vidham. There are a lot of negations, which means it is not that. It's not that. Sanskritatla, when you add, typically when you add at the front, it's a negation, yeah, usually. In some cases, when it's added as a prefix, in some cases it becomes the opposite of. So, what are they doing? Let's look at the word meaning first, and then we'll come to what it actually could go a little deeper to understand what it possibly could mean. Saha paryagat, all pervading. Shukram. In the cha, the cha becomes, the sha becomes cha because of the sandhi. It is sa paryagat shukram. And tha and sha comes together. There is something called as a chatva sandhi. So, what is that, Kailash? Chutva sandhi. Chutva or chatva sandhi?
When the cha comes, it's chutva.
Chutva sandhi. So the sandhi makes the sha becomes cha. So it will become saparyagat chukram. But actually the word is saparyagat shukram. Shukram means it's radiant, illuminated. Akayam. Kayam means body. So akayam. In this case, it means there's no subtle body also. Avranam, without any wounds. Asnaviram. Snaviram means vein. Sinews nu solluvala. Sinews, veins. That is snaviram. Asnaviram means this is without veins or without muscles. Shuddham, it is pure. It is apapa vidham. It is untouched by papa. Papa, punya, both. Who's this talking about? Saha. Saha is who? Isha. Iśāvāsya sarvam. And furthermore, it says kavihi manishi. This is a kavi. Kavihi means a seer, a muni, munihi. Somebody who is a realized person. A Jivan Mukta is known as kavihi, the wise one. Manishi. This thing is all-knowing, like a kavi, and it also impels the mind. Paribhuhu, it is beyond everything. Para, it is beyond everything. Swayambhuhu, it is Swayambhu, self-sustained, self-reliant, self-born. Yatha tathyataha. This is the most difficult word in this phrase. Yatha tathyataha, which means yatha tatha. Ataha. Therefore, it is as it is. Yatha tatha. Sanskritla solluvom theriyuma? Yatha tatha asti, tathaiva asti. Appadina eppadi irukko, appadiye irukattum. Things as they are. Arthan, which means meanings or objectives. Artha. Vyadadhat, allots. It allots. Shashvatibhyah, permanently. Samabhyah, for all cycles of time. Sama means samaya, time. Samabhyah. Now, what is the Rishi trying to say in this whole mantra is, see, till mantra 7, we saw that there is an Atma, there is a entity, whatever you name it. You call it Atma, you call it Satchidananda Swarup, you call it, you call it Brahman, you call it consciousness, you call it, in this 7th mantra, there are names for it, right? Atma here, Sarvani Bhutani, Vijugupsate. Tat, in fact, tat is also that. In the Mahavakya Tattvamasi, tat also refers to that, the same substance, consciousness. Chaitanya, you can call it Chaitanya. Tat, you can call it Atma, whatever. Whatever you call this, it has been described in this particular mantras 5 and 6. It talks about the nature of it. Again, from 4 onwards, actually. Anejadekam manasojaviyo nainadeva apnuvan purvamarshate tadhavato anyan atyeti tishtate tasmin apo matarishva dadhati. So it talks about the nature of the Atma. How is the Atma operating in this world? And 5 talks about tadejati, tannejati, taddure, tadvantike. It is near, it is far, it is everywhere, inside, outside, all that. 6 talks about the person who perceives this Atma, the Jivan Mukta, who perceives this Atma. How does he perceive? And what happens to him when he perceives everything like that? Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyeva anupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. He does not hate anything. Such is a man who sees everything, the Atma in everything, and in everything, the Atma in everything, and everything in the Atma. The one who sees both, he cannot hate anything or anybody. The same thing here, repeated here. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanatah. The one who knows everything is in the Atma. One who knows this, tatrako moha kaha shokaha. Kaha shoka. Where is this illusion or delusion? Where is sorrow? Ekatvam anupashyatah. He sees only oneness. Okay. Till this, we understood what the Jivan Mukta perceives. Right? We spoke about Ekatvam and all that in the last session. Now, Mantra 8 is trying to tell us slightly something different, which is you're talking about Ekatvam and everything, but yet I perceive everything as disparate. As this whole multifarious multitude of creation, this world that has been created, I perceive it. Who's the cause of all of this? Where does it come from? You're talking about Ekatvam, but I still perceive Bahutvam. Right? I see multitude. Where does it come from? Who's the cause? Who's the creator? Appadinu ketana, if there is a question like that, the answer in Mantra 8 goes back to tell that it is you. It goes back a full circle and comes and tells the whole creator, the Jagat that you also see, the activities that you see in the Jagat, everything is created by you. By you means by that. The same thing that we are talking about from starting, Iśāvāsya Midam Sarvam and Atma, Chaitanya, all that we are talking about, that entity that we have been talking about thus far, it's the same entity which is also responsible for this whole creation, for this whole duality and multiplicity that you see. It is the reason. That's explain pandra idhula. So, how it starts is to explain first again what this is, which is Saha. Saha is it or that. Okay, because in the Shastras, Atma is sometimes referred to, or Isha is sometimes referred to as Saha, as a Purusha, sometimes as neutral, Tat. So here it is saying Saha, it is Paryagat. It is all pervading. Now, what it means by all pervading? Let's just spend a couple of moments with all pervading. When I say it is all pervading, which means I am all pervading. When I'm saying I am all pervading, what is it that is all pervading? It is definitely not the body. I cannot be all pervading because I'm limited Currently, my experiences, I am limited by the body. Okay. Then what is it that is all pervading? The meaning here is that you are identified by your consciousness. Correct? For your own self, how do you recognize yourself? When you close your eyes, you don't think of your body. When I think of you, I think of your body. If I had to think of Chandra Mama, I will think of Chandra Mama, the frame he is, the vibhuti he puts, the kannadi he wears, whatever. So this is the form that I visualize. The form comes to my mind when I think of any object on the outside. But if I had to think of myself, do I ever think of myself as I see myself in the mirror? Unless I want to think of myself as, oh, how do I look? Then I perceive, oh, the last time I saw myself in the mirror, this is how I looked. Hence, I probably look like this. But otherwise, when you think about yourself, you never think of form. You cannot think of form. You cannot. You have to put effort to think of yourself in form. But while you're thinking of somebody else, the only thing you can think of is form. Very first thing that comes to your mind. And then adicha and odacha, all that comes later. But the first thing that comes to your mind is the form. Correct? But for your own self, you cannot perceive yourself in form. The most immediate perception of yourself is formless. Correct? Now, when you're like this, what is your experience of consciousness? Your experience of consciousness is, I am right here. I perceive things, and whatever I perceive is there in me. And remember, we are talking about the five senses. Okay. Now, when I perceive, it means seeing is one thing, hearing is one thing, touching, smelling, tasting, all of these. When I see, I have a certain range of perception. So whatever I perceive, I am there. Whatever I see, I am there. If I see this, I am there. Because all of this is, the perception is happening inside me. If I see a building, whether a building is out there or not, in my perception, whether the building is out there or it is an image of a building, a photo panirkano, hologram panirkano, whatever he has done, somebody could have done a beautiful hologram of the building. It doesn't matter. But what I perceive in my mind, within me, is the building. If I go close to it, maybe I touch it, I feel it, I'll feel different. Oh, it doesn't feel hard. It feels like a hologram. But then perception is happening within me. Now, Turkey. Turkey has had 25,000 deaths. There's been a quake that has happened there. Very unfortunate. Till I don't hear the news, it is not there in my perception. Turkey doesn't exist in my conscious awareness. The moment I read the news, the moment I hear about this in the news, that Turkey, this is what has happened, I see images, the whole thing enters my perception. When that enters in my perception, my consciousnness, what is my consciousness now? My consciousness is Turkey. See, this is important to understand, because we are so limited by our body. We think where my body goes, I am only there. Actually, it's very less that wherever your body goes, you're there. Most of the time, where your mind is, that is where you are. Because your consciousness, your mind takes the form of the object you're thinking. If I tell you, think of a rose, immediately a rose comes into your head. See, people do visualization exercises. So if I say, think of a red rose or a white lotus, so immediately a white lotus comes into your head. Now, what is there in your consciousness right now? There's white lotus. Right? So when my mind takes the form of the thought that occurs in my mind. When I think of something, my consciousness is there. So when I'm saying I am all pervading, which means this all, all pervading means I am everywhere. If the Shastra says Saha Pariyagat, it is everywhere, or it means this Atma is everywhere, which means wherever my consciousness falls, that is in me, which means I am not saying I am everywhere, I'm saying everywhere is in me. See, can you look at it this way? So that's the way you flip it. You say everywhere, whatever you say that this is everywhere, this is the world. You look at the stars. The star is in me. When I'm perceiving the stars is in me, my perception. In me, it's in my perception. Unless I perceive the stars don't have any existence for me. Correct? So in this way, when you recognize that perception occurs inside, I am everywhere. If I'm in deep sleep, it doesn't matter. எத்தனையோ பேரு quakeல, they were in deep sleep, the building collapsed on them, and that's it. They left the body. They wouldn't have even known that a quake happened and I died in a quake. The subtle body that escapes the physical, because the physical cannot hold the subtle anymore because it's damaged. Because the physical body is damaged, the subtle body is thrown out of force. It's thrown out. This subtle body doesn't know that something has happened. Only when it tries to interact with its environment, it will realize that it is not able to interact with the environment. So the subtle body is suddenly it's thrown out of the body, physical. It will find itself in a different. It will possibly be able to experience and see whatever. It's not like it's got eyes or whatever, but it will be able to perceive it in a different way. But it will not be able to understand what's happening. So when I'm in deep sleep, I wouldn't know what's happening in the world. இடியே விழுந்தாலும் தெரியாதுங்கிறது இதுதான் சொல்லுவாள்ல. Even if there is a lightning that comes and strikes you, you will not know in deep sleep. In Thambi, when he goes off to sleep, it's very difficult to wake him up in the morning. So my mother will always எழுப்புறது ரொம்ப கஷ்டம், இடியே விழுந்தாலும் எழுந்துக்க மாட்டேங்கிறான் பாருன்னு சொல்லி she'll keep pushing him. Because once you're in deep sleep, it doesn't matter. Your mother is calling, your father is calling, your son is calling, whoever, it doesn't matter. You're in that. So when your consciousness is such, your consciousness is completely. Now, when I'm looking at the sun, I'm looking at the moon, I'm looking at the rivers. If I don't perceive it, until my consciousness does not fill the sun, my consciousness does not fill the river, that doesn't exist. It exists because I perceive it. For me. It exists for me because So, saparyagat means everywhere is in me. That is how we need to see it. See, it's very easy to flip this and say saparyagat, it is everywhere. Finished. Story is over. Okay, there is an Atma, நான் அந்த ஆத்மாவை கும்பிடுறேன். That Atma is everywhere. May it bless me அப்படின்னு சொல்லி அதுக்கு ஒரு போட்டோ, ஆத்மாவுக்கு ஒரு ரூபம் இருந்ததுன்னா போட்டோ போட்டு மாலை போட்டு தினம் ஆரத்தி காமிச்சிருவோம். That's what we tend to do. We always externalize everything. Fortunately, the Upanishads were revealed to us. And Upanishads refers to the Atma as it, not giving it any form. The ஆத்மாக்கு மட்டும் ஏதாவது ஒரு ஃபார்ம், அது ஜோதி மாதிரி இந்த அளவுக்கு இந்த அப்படிலாம் இருந்ததுன்னா, somewhere in the Upanishad it's mentioned, finished. People put a frame around it, take a photograph, make it an object of worship, not realizing the one that is worshipping it is the one that they're talking about. Correct? Like we had the experience of Ganga Arati. We were sitting on the Ganga and the Arati was done for Ganga. So it almost seemed like the Arati was done for us. Right? That's Vedanta. So you're sitting on the boat on Ganga and you're watching the Arati. Arati is done for Ganga, but you are right on Ganga. So who's the Arati done for? It's done for you. So remember, when we worship something, what you're worshipping is here. This is what you're worshipping. Actually, you're worshipping, which is why when you're taking a flower, Archana, ek flower edto, when you do this, you actually do this first. You touch the source which is within you. And then you're saying that this is the source that is out there also. Or you touch here and then you offer. So Saha Paryagat, everywhere is in me. Okay, so that is the first word. Shukram. Shukram means it is radiant white or it is illuminating, all illuminating. All illuminating means, do you need something else? So let's spend just a minute or two on this. Shukram means radiant, illuminating. Do you need anybody to tell you you exist? Do I need anyone to tell me that I exist? I don't have to. If somebody is coming and asking me, hey, are you there? It's possible that I've just woken up from sleep and I'm deranged. My mind has not come to its senses. I'm deranged. Maybe I'm halfway between deep sleep or my dream state and my waking. I'm kind of deranged and somebody's coming and shaking me up. He's moving me from a different state of consciousness to the waking consciousness. That is all. But the question is, are you there or are you here? You don't need to think whether you're here or not. If any other question I ask, you may have to think. Are you wearing glasses? You may have to think, oh, okay, am I wearing glasses? But if you ask a question, are you present? Are you here? If you're in the waking state, the very instant response will be, yes, I am here. What nonsense are you asking me? Correct. Why does that come with so much conviction? Because you have absolutely no doubt that you exist. And what it means is that you don't need a torchlight to show you that you exist. Even in the darkest of spaces, in the darkest of places, you exist is the term for this, irrefutable. Correct? That is our experience. Correct? So Shukram means it is self-illuminating. You're the light to yourself. Next word, Akayam. Akayam, Avranam, Asnaviram. Which means there is no body, subtle body. There's no this particular Atma that we're talking about does not have a physical body, doesn't have a subtle body, it doesn't have a causal body also. Akayam. Kayam means kaya. Kaya means body. Vakratunda Mahakaya. Chulo liya. Vakratunda Mahakaya. Koti Suri Samaprabha. Mahakaya means large bodied. Ganesha is large bodied. So Mahakaya. So Akayam, which means இது தமிழ்ல இருக்கிற காயம் இல்ல, காயம் பட்டுறது அப்படிங்கிறது. It is not that காயம். This is Sanskritல காயம், because akayam, the word காயம் in the word தமிழ்ல யூஸ் பண்ண wound யூஸ் பண்ணுவோம்ல, that's the next word. விரடம்.
தமிழ்லயும் காயம்னு ஒண்ணு இருக்கு. காயமே இது பொய்யடா.
காயமே இது பொய்யடா இருக்கு.
சம்ஸ்கிருதம் வேர்டு தமிழ்ல யூஸ் பண்ணிருக்காங்க.
ஆமா,
காற்றடைத்த பையடா அப்படின்னு.
வெரி குட். So
நிறைய சான்ஸ்கிரிட் வேர்டு தமிழ்ல இருக்கு actually பார்த்தா.
ஆமா, correct. It has been நிறைய borrow ஆயிருக்கு இங்க. You're right. So akayam avranam. Akayamna doesn't have a body, which means it is not limited by space, the physicality. It is not limited by physicality. அப்படின்னு அர்த்தம். See, just a moment here. If we think that I am the body with some consciousness walking around, then I'll always feel limited by the body. Okay, I am thinking right now, I am the body. I am carrying some intelligence, some mind, some consciousness within this body. I am walking around. Now, how do you perceive how a Jivan Mukta walks around, or a realized person walks around? Is he flips it, like the previous word that we spoke. He flips it, which means wherever his perception is, he is there. And body exists in that. Your perception is not limited to your body. Correct? Your perception is not limited to your body. You think of Brahmaloka now, you are in Brahmaloka. You think of Indraloka now, you are in Indraloka. You want to think of the Apsaras now, you are sitting with them. You are thinking of Narayana's Adisesha in the Milky Ocean. You are right now, right there. Kshiro Dhanvat Pradeshe Shuchimanavalasat Saikater Muktikana. You are right here, right there, right at that moment you are there. So, when you think about these visualizations, you are not in the body. But the problem is you're reminded constantly of the body. And we don't want to let go of that reminder. We constantly want to be reminded, I am the body, I am the body, I am. And not only you, the world reminds us constantly. When you go and meet somebody, hello, Atman yarum solla maatana namala. யாராவது உங்க பேர் என்னன்னா எனக்கு ஒரு பேரும் கிடையாதுப்பா அப்படின்னு சொன்னா, சரி ஆதார் கார்டு கொடு நான் பாத்துக்கிறேன் அப்படின்னா. மண்டேலான்னு ஒரு படம் வந்தது இல்ல,
அதுலயே நான் இல்லைன்னு சொல்லிக்கலாம், ஏன்னா போட்டோல அது மாதிரிதான் இருக்கு.
அது வேற எவனோ மண்டேலான்னு ஒரு படம் வந்தது, இந்த யோகி பாபுது. A very funny movie. He actually doesn't have a name in that movie, because somehow he is born, nobody actually gave him a name. He was found somewhere, he was brought up like that, and then he struggled to get an Aadhaar card for himself. So the world always recognizes us with the body, with the form, with what they see, what they perceive. Now, but for us, it's not like that. So always try to, so these are called prakriyas. Prakriya na Vedanta la, there are methods to visualize some of this knowledge or understanding. How do you apply it in your daily life? Is you visualize like this. When you sit or you walk around, just perceive. When you're walking, evening walks, morning walks, when we go, just perceive, think of yourself as all that you're perceiving, you are present there. Your consciousness is present there. The farthest thing that you can see, the sun that you can see, the rivers, the mountains, your perception is expanded. You are in everything that you perceive. You listen to a bird chirping, you are there. See, this is the experience of samadhi that the great gurus get, the masters get, right? When they suddenly feel that they are everywhere, the perception of the body limitation drops, and they suddenly feel that, oh my God, I'm actually everywhere. This body it's carrying me around. It's the difference of electricity and a bulb. Electricity is flowing everywhere, but the bulb is where you see the light. But when you experience it flowing everywhere, the light is important as a utility. So this body is important as a utility for transaction, but not for perception. For perception, so if I can perceive myself like that, when I am completely expanded, now imagine how slowly we will get dehypnotized from the thought that we carry, that I am only the body.
Correct.
Slow dehypnotize agum. See, the whole idea is right now we are so hypnotized into the idea. Vivekananda says this whole process of realization is dehypnotizing yourself. Swami Vivekananda. அதனால்தான் அது ரியலைசேஷன் சொல்றேன். That is why it's called as recognition. You are not trying to understand something new. இருக்கிறத ஞாபகப்படுத்திக்கிறோம். We are just reminding ourselves. There is no new cognition that's happening. It is recognition. You recognizing that this is what I am. And so the whole spiritual process is a training. What we go through is constant training of trying to dehypnotize ourselves. So when you see, when you walk, you will actually feel yourself expanding out of the body. See, right now, when I'm here, somebody stands close to me here, right? I still feel he's in my space. He may not be touching you at all, but still you feel that he's in your space. இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் தள்ளி நில்லேன் பாக்க, can you move a little? அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம்ல. கோவிட் போது எல்லாம் சந்தோஷமா இருந்தோம். எல்லாம் 1 feet distance, 2 meters, 1 meter distance. That distance is important for you to recognize your space. Now imagine if this space starts increasing slowly. You just think that people are walking in my space. There's always everything in my space. When you just expand this feeling, right now it's limited to like 6 inches from my body. What if I just expand this? And this happens when you do your meditation. When you do meditation, you can start feeling that you're expanding your consciousness. And the more you expand your consciousness, the fact that body is there, you're not refuting it, you're not rejecting it, you're not resisting it, but you're not identifying with it. You're not constantly identifying that I am the body, I am only the body. So this is what the Upanishad is trying to say, that akayam, bodiless. Okay. Now we are at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock aiduthe. Whatever it's, I think 8:30, 9:30 India time, right? So what we can do is we'll possibly pause here and continue this mantra the next session. Because I thought it'll be good to go through each of these words and try to understand what it means to us, rather than just not looking at the word meaning of it. Right? The literal meaning is out there. You can pick up a book and we can understand the literal meaning. But for us to experience what the word means, why is somebody saying this? Why is a rishi saying this? He's experiencing something. The rishi is experiencing something. Hence, he's saying that hey, you are akayam. You are paryagat. You can only be paryagat. You can be all pervading. You can be everywhere only when you are akayam. Only when you experience the bodilessness of yourself, then you can say, I am all pervading. And then you're self-illumined, because you don't need an external agency to recognize your own self. Okay. So then Asnaviram, we'll stop at Asnaviram and then we'll go to the next one. Asnaviram is the same thing. There are no muscles, because you don't have a body, you don't have veins, muscles, all that. And Avranam, okay, maybe I didn't touch upon Avranam. Avranam it is without wounds. Wound can happen only on something that is a limited substance. So there is something this is my body. I've removed a certain part of my body. What remains there is a wound. There's a cut, a little bit of flesh, a little bit of ligament, something comes out, blood comes out, whatever comes out. What remains is the wound. So it's only possible when you're limited, you can do parts. When this is partless, you can't create a wound in it. Correct? You can't create a wound in it. You can't say that, okay, now I have from the Atma, from this consciousness, I've removed something and hence now there is a wound there. It can't happen. Why? Because of the first mantra that we say, the Shanti mantra. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Which means it's complete. It is complete, and even if you take Purnam Adaya, you take Purnam from the Purna, what remains? Purnam Eva Avashishyate. That is what remains. What remains is not a wound, what remains is Purnam. Now, what it means is I'll take just less than a minute and we'll close this. See, when we talk about wounds, it's very important because in life, we are always hurt about something or the other. Somebody has told something. Somebody did not wish me good morning. அப்படியே பார்த்துட்டே போயிட்டான். குட் மார்னிங் கூட சொல்லல.
பர்த்டேக்கு விஷ் பண்ணவே இல்ல.
பர்த்டேக்கு விஷே பண்ணல. நான் ஒவ்வொரு பர்த்டேக்கும் விஷ் பண்ணுவேன். The smallest of things can cause us hurt. The smallest of things can cause a wound, and this wound continues for many years. It remains in our consciousness. One wise man said, all you get in life is an experience. Whether you convert it into wisdom or a wound is your choice. Right? Life only gives us experiences and opportunities to experience something. Whether you convert that experience into wisdom, புரிஞ்சது வாழ்க்கை புரிஞ்சதுப்பா அப்படின்னு, if you convert it into wisdom, or you're converted into a wound which is going to bother you throughout your life, is your choice. So when you experience this paryagat, akayam, shukram, avranam, asnaviram, all of this, asnaviram, all of this you experience, then you will say that I am avranam also, because nothing can touch it. I am that. I am in my joy and bliss. நீ என்ன பண்ணாலும் எனக்கு ஒன்றும் ஆகாது. I will not be impacted, bothered. You throw stones at me, you give me blessings, you give me மாலையை வந்து போடு, doesn't matter. Right? So that is avranam. Cannot be wounded, unscathed. That is what we want, right? Because we know any wound or any hurt enters, the joy gets disturbed, disrupted. So we don't want that to happen. So the only way is not to get disturbed. எத்தனை பேர் போய் சொல்ல முடியும்? How many people, even all the people around you, the closest people, you keep telling, எனக்கு மரியாதை கொடு, எனக்கு ப்ராப்பரா என்ன கவனி, எனக்கு நீ ஒழுங்கா என்ன பார்த்துக்கோ, என்ன வந்து நீ பார்க்கறச்செல்லாம் என்ன சிரிச்சு பேசு, இதெல்லாம் you can do all of this to people around you. But then suddenly you settle this in your house, 10 days later somebody will come and give you a tight slap. வீட்டுக்கு ரெண்ட் கட்டல அப்படின்னு சொல்லி immediately the thing that you're carrying, the pride that you're carrying yourself will go away, will vanish. So இவர் என்ன சொல்லுவார், சுவாமி சிவானந்தாதோட ஒரு saying இருக்கு. bear insult, bear injury. This is Swami Shivananda. Bear insult, bear injury. That is the only way to realization. So once you start, so that's a practice that we do. Shariya. So with that, we'll close today. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Kayena vacha manasendriyerva buddhyatmana va prakrite swabhavat karomi yatyat sakalam parasmai narayanaayeti samarpayami. Sadashivayeti samarpayami. Jagadambikayeti samarpayami. Sadgurunathayeti samarpayami. Hari Om Tat Sat Gurubhyo Namah.